Do you remember notable actors like Brittany Murphy, Ben Affleck, and Allison Flanagan? They are just a few of the actors that have roles on this 90s sitcom. Which one is it? Stay tuned to find out which one. Welcome to Family TV Uncovered, where I talk all about clean, family-friendly TV shows and movies that shaped my childhood. I'm your host, Jennifer, and in today's episode, I'll be talking about the Torkelsons. The 90s sitcom I will be talking about today is the Torkelsons. This is a funny family show that my children every week because it lifts our hearts and makes us laugh. This show only had 2 seasons and it began in 1991 and ran until about 1993. It was rebranded in season 2 with a new title called Almost Home. Now, the show is set in Oklahoma and stars Millicent Torkelson, who is a single mom taking care of her 5 children: Dorothy Jane, Chucky Lee, Mary Sue, Stephen Floyd, and Ruth Ann. They struggle financially. They don't have all the refined things in life that we all may be accustomed to, but they're thankful for what they have and especially for each other. The relationships between the siblings are the usual things that I think we all experience if you have siblings, if you grew up with younger or older siblings. There is another small character in the show called Border Hodges, and he rents a room from them to help Millicent financially. One of the interesting points of this show is watching Dorothy Jane, the oldest child, talk to the man in the moon. It's an oral diary, and it's very personal to her, but instead of writing with pen and paper, she's talking out the window to the man in the moon. She talks about her experiences, her hopes, her dreams, and about life in general. Now, if any of you have struggled financially, now I don't personally have the experience of being raised by a single parent, but I'm sure those of you who are single parents could probably relate to the situation that Millicent is in and are probably hardworking, just like she is, trying to provide for her family the best way she knows how. Now, we don't see Millicent actually go to work. She works from her home because she's raising her 5 children. They go to school just like normal kids, while Millicent stays home doing her little side job of reupholstery, which seems to be her primary source of income in the home. Now, I didn't watch this show when it was live on the air originally on NBC. I found it when it was in syndication on the Disney Channel, when the Disney Channel had real family-centered programming on their channel. I fell in love with the characters. I think one of the funniest things on this show is the relationship between Dorothy Jane and a schoolmate of hers named Kirby Scroggins, who is head over heels in love with her and will not leave her alone and does not give up pursuing her. He has all kinds of dreams for them, and it's funny to watch them in the beginning because over time we see the relationship change a little bit. And I think overall the show does a great job of showing the importance of family, being grateful for what we have, not being concerned with material items, and that material items don't necessarily bring you happiness. We see them go through different hardships, but despite the struggles that they have, I think the show does a very good job of teaching things like kindness, compassion, loyalty, perseverance, and honesty. Those are all things that I know we all want our children to learn about in a positive way. Now, later, when the show was rebranded in season 2, it was called Almost Home, and the show unfortunately cut off 2 of the children, Ruth Ann and Stephen Floyd. They don't go on to continue taping for Almost Home. And the storyline is that Millicent couldn't make her mortgage payment and was losing her home. So she ends up getting hired by a businessman in Washington as a live-in nanny for his 2 children. Now, Perry King is the businessman in this show who plays the character named Mr. Morgan, and his 2 children, Molly and Gregory, which are played by Brittany Murphy and Jason Marsden. These 2 kids, these 2 actors do a fabulous job of being funny, making fun of each other, cracking jokes. The writers came up with some great things for these kids to say between each other and to the Torkelsons. But because Mr. Morgan's children are not little angels, they have their dad wrapped around their finger. Their dad is not home a lot because, just like Millicent, he's a single parent. Actually, he's a widow. and working very hard at his company to continue providing the comfortable life that they have. Their lives are more luxurious compared to how the Torkelsons lived in Oklahoma. So we have Millicent, Dorothy Jane, Chucky Lee, and Mary Sue move on into the Morgan home in Seattle, Washington. So big change. We go from a country setting to a city setting where Molly and Gregory are not too happy about yet another nanny coming to take care of them. And main episode deals with them trying to figure out how to get rid of them. It's just a great show. You have to watch it in order to understand the kind of humor that's in this show. Now, without storytelling too much, let me just talk about a few of my favorite episodes from both seasons. One episode called The Cotillion is my favorite because we see Dorothy Jane's crush on the next door neighbor boy who's a few years older than her, but she has dreams of going to the dance with him. But the struggle in the show is her having a dress to wear because, again, they don't have the money to go shopping at the mall to get a dress like everyone, like her peers do. Instead, they go shopping at the Salvation Army, and we see Millicent's talent revitalize a Salvation Army dress into her gown to wear to her first dance. Now, in this episode, she does have somewhat of a little bit of bullying. We deal with things like envy in the show. We deal with some slight bullying in the show, or I don't know if you would call it bullying. I guess you would say more snobbish behavior from a peer of hers who ends up getting a little lesson in humility, or a lesson in her snobbish peer ends up getting a little lesson from somebody you wouldn't expect. And this episode, again, I think focuses on material items. I think this episode focuses on privacy. You'd have to watch it to understand what I mean by privacy. There's a little storyline in there about the importance of privacy, respecting other people's business, and then, again, being grateful for what you have. But I think more importantly, the important thing is being grateful for the parent that you have, and having a parent that's willing to do anything that they can to make you happy and to help you have the best childhood that you can, what you have. And her mother does just this in the episode because her mom uses her talents in being a seamstress as well in revitalizing this dress. Not that the dress was horrible to begin with, but you'll see what I mean when you watch the episode. Another great episode actually has a special appearance by none other than Elmo. Now, if your kids are a fan of Elmo, they should really like this episode. I think it's called Millicent's Diploma, but it's an episode where Millicent's children find out that their mother didn't finish high school, and Dorothy Jane discovers the reason why her mother didn't finish high school. Now, if you can put two and two together, I'm pretty sure you can kind of guess the reason why. But the episode focuses on Millicent being encouraged by her renter and by her children, mainly Dorothy Jane, to finish high school, get her education. She is so overwhelmed with the preparation, struggling with practice tests and none other, that she ends up losing her mind and ends up talking to Elmo. Again, I don't want to storytell too much, but this is another great episode to watch that's full of humor and it's full of humor. And I believe if you've been somebody who's gone back to school, even though you're juggling your family or a job, I'm pretty sure you could relate. You might have even been more overwhelmed than how Millicent is depicted in the show. So those are two of my favorite episodes of the Torkelsons. Almost Home, there are just too many. I think it's even maybe a little more funny than the original Torkelsons. And the show was canceled due to lower viewership, which is very sad. But I think the 90s was right about where TV started to change a little bit. So Almost Home, one episode that comes to mind is when an episode that has two storylines. One, Dorothy Jane sneaks out with Brittany Murphy's character, Molly, to go to a college dorm, to go to a little small gathering of college guys that Dorothy Jane thinks are at her intellectual level, but she's in for a big surprise. And on the other side of the coin, we deal with Chucky Lee, who's trying to find his identity. He's a fifth grader, I believe, at this time in the show, and he ends up having quite a few makeovers to try to find his identity. And it's cool to watch because I think as a child, we all struggle with that. Your children, depending on their age, may even be struggling with it right now. And it's just nice to see the show focus on that and deal with those things that children go through, that all children go through, but deals with it in a humorous, gentle way. In a humorous way with no ideology at all mentioned in the show. The show is just a show to be funny. So the Torkelsons / Almost Home is a great pick for your family to watch. So the Torkelsons is a great family show. It's heartfelt, clean, and above all, it is just hilarious. I love how the writers wrote this show. The writers did a great job with this show. I highly recommend it for you to watch it with your children. Your children can even watch it on their own, in my opinion. My own children watch it by themselves as well. And I'd like to know your opinion. If you watch the show, please leave a comment. Visit my website at familytvuncovered.com. Leave a comment, send me a message. I'd love to hear your opinion on the show and any favorite moments. Or if you grew up watching the show, I would love to hear from you as well. That brings us to the end of this Family TV Uncovered episode. I hope you enjoyed learning about the Torkelsons / Almost Home. Tune into our episode next week where I'll be talking about a show that which I think really was one of the first reality TV shows. If you liked this episode, please leave a review and share it with your family and friends. Thank you for tuning in, and I will catch you next week. I highly encourage you to watch the Torkelsons first before Almost Home. So where can you watch the Torkelsons? You can watch it for free on YouTube just by doing a simple search for the Torkelsons or Almost Home. I will leave a link for it in the show notes as well.